Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, replaying every moment with him? Every text, every call, every silence, trying to figure out what it all means? You're not crazy. You're just craving clarity in a situation that keeps giving you confusion. You want to believe he cares. You want to believe he's just busy, just unsure, just taking his time. But deep down, you feel it. The sinking feeling that you're more invested than he is. And the truth is, when someone is serious about you, you won't have to wonder. This isn't about being needy or demanding. This is about knowing the difference between someone who's genuinely building something with you and someone who's keeping you around while they explore other options. If you're tired of mixed signals, of feeling like you're the only one showing up, then keep listening. Because once you recognize the signs, you'll stop chasing explanations and start demanding better. He tells you how much he likes you. He says all the right things. He compliments you, tells you he misses you, and sometimes even talks about the future in vague, dreamy terms. But when you really look at his actions, something doesn't line up. He says he misses you, but doesn't make time to see you. He says you're important, but can't remember the things that actually matter to you. He says you're special, but you feel like an afterthought in his life. And when words and actions don't match, it's not just a small inconsistency, it's a warning sign you can't afford to ignore. You might be tempted to explain it away. Maybe he's just not great at texting. Maybe he's got a lot on his plate. Maybe he just doesn't know how to express himself. And sure, those things can be true to a degree. But someone who is serious about you won't hide behind excuses. They'll show up. You won't have to interpret or translate or guess what he really means, because his actions will make it clear. Love is shown in the little things. It's not in a dramatic proclamation, it's in consistency. It's when he calls, when he says he will. It's when he follows through on the plans he makes. It's when he remembers that you had an important meeting or that you weren't feeling well last night. When someone is serious about you, they don't just say they care, they make you feel it. If you find yourself constantly giving him the benefit of the doubt, constantly waiting for him to do what he says he'll do, then he's not being inconsistent, he's being clear. And his clarity is this: you're not a priority. The danger of falling for someone whose words don't align with their actions is that you start living in potential instead of reality. You hold on to the sweet things he says, replaying them like a favorite song, because they make you feel seen, they make you feel hopeful. But words without action are just noise. And hope, when built on empty promises, turns into self-betrayal. You begin to rationalize why you're the one making all the effort. You tell yourself that if you're just a little more patient, a little more understanding, maybe he'll step up. But what you're really doing is giving more of yourself to someone who's giving you less and less in return. There's something intoxicating about words. We want to believe them, especially when they reflect what we wish to hear. But someone who truly means what he says will want his actions to reinforce those words. He'll want you to feel secure. He'll want you to trust him. He won't leave you hanging or questioning, because he understands that love is something you show, not just something you say. Look at the pattern. Not just the big gestures, but the day-to-day behavior. Does he show up when you need him? Does he make you feel prioritized without you begging for attention? Does he keep his promises, no matter how small they seem? These are the real indicators of seriousness. Anyone can talk about how amazing you are when the mood strikes, but when it comes down to consistency, the kind that builds trust over time, That's where you see his real intentions. And when his actions don't match his words, it doesn't mean you're not lovable. It doesn't mean you're not enough. It simply means that he's not ready or willing to give you what you deserve. And that's not something you need to fix. It's something you need to recognize. You need a man who says you're amazing. You need one who treats you like you are. You don't need someone who claims to care. You need someone who proves it again and again. Because in the end, anyone can say the right thing to keep you around, but the one who's serious about you will do the right thing, even when it's not convenient. So the next time you find yourself confused about where you stand, don't look for a clearer explanation. Look at his behavior. And if the effort isn't there, neither is the seriousness. And you deserve more than words. You deserve to be chosen consistently, intentionally, and without hesitation. You've been spending time together, texting, going on dates, maybe even getting a little more emotionally attached than you planned. But every time the topic of what are we comes up, he gets uncomfortable. He dodges the question. He tells you he's just going with the flow or not ready for labels. He might even say he's just trying to enjoy the moment and doesn't want to ruin things by overthinking. And while that might sound reasonable on the surface, deep down it leaves you feeling uncertain, confused, unsettled. When someone is serious about you, they won't shy away from defining the relationship. They won't keep things vague or ambiguous. In fact, they'll want to be clear because they won't want to risk losing you. People who are serious don't play games with your emotions. They make their intentions known, not because you force them into it, but because they want to give you clarity. They want you to feel safe, not insecure. If he constantly avoids labeling the relationship or talking about the future, it's not a sign that he's being thoughtful or talking about the future. It's a sign that he's protecting his freedom to leave. When a man isn't serious, he'll do everything he can to keep things just undefined enough that he can enjoy your presence without taking responsibility for your heart. That way, if you get hurt, he can say he never made any promises. But the truth is, consistency in affection, intimacy, and time spent together creates expectations. You're not wrong for wanting to understand where you stand. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking to stop living in limbo. The problem is, you start to feel like bringing up the conversation is a risk. You worry that if you ask where this is going, he might pull away, so you stay quiet. You convince yourself that you're okay with how things are, that you're just enjoying the ride, that if you give it more time, he'll eventually open up. But silence is real. And when you allow your needs to keep someone in your life, you're not protecting the relationship, you're betraying yourself. A man who sees a future with you won't treat commitment like a trap. He won't flinch at the idea of exclusivity. He won't act like your desire for clarity is pressure. He'll welcome the conversation because he knows that emotional security is the foundation of anything worth building. He'll want to grow something real with you, and real things require definition. Think about it. We label the things that matter. We name the people we love. We identify what's valuable to us so we can protect and nurture it. So when someone tells you they don't want to put a label on your relationship, what they're really saying is they don't want to be held accountable for it. They want the benefits of closeness without the weight of commitment. And when you allow that dynamic to continue, it begins to eat away at your self-worth. You start to overanalyze every conversation, every delay in his replies, every time he's vague about his weekend plans. You start to compete for reassurance in a space that should feel like home. And over time, you begin to settle for ambiguity, mistaking it for taking things slow, when in reality, it's just emotional stalling. You deserve more than that. You deserve to wake up knowing exactly where you stand in someone's life. You deserve to feel chosen, not tolerated. The right person will not keep you in a holding pattern while they figure things out. They'll figure it out with you. They won't let fear of commitment stand in the way of building something real. And if someone isn't ready for that, then they're not ready for you. There's nothing wrong with wanting clarity. There's nothing wrong with wanting to define your relationship. The wrong thing is settling for someone who wants all the benefits of being close to you without any of the responsibility. You can't build a future on maybes. You can't build trust on avoidance. And you certainly can't create something meaningful with someone who's more afraid of labels than they are of losing you. So if he's avoiding defining the relationship, stop hoping he'll change his mind and start believing what he's already showing you. Because when someone is serious about you, you won't need to push for answers. They'll give them to you willingly. You find yourself staring at your phone, wondering if you should send that text again. It's always you who reaches out first. You're the one initiating conversations, checking in on how his day went, asking to make plans. If you didn't start the conversation, would there even be one? It's a question you've asked yourself more times than you can count, and each time the answer feels heavier. When you're the only one putting in effort to keep the connection alive, it's not a connection, it's a one-sided investment. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal. You told yourself that maybe he's just not a big texter, maybe he's busy, maybe he likes when you take the lead. And while all those things might be true, they quickly become excuses. When they turn into a pattern, relationships thrive on mutual energy. When that energy is only flowing from one direction, it's not sustainable. No matter how patient or understanding you are, eventually it begins to wear you down. It's not about wanting him to chase you or play games. It's about the basic need to feel wanted, to feel like someone is as excited to talk to you as you are to talk to them, to know that your presence is not just accepted, but valued. When a man is serious about you, he doesn't need a reminder to stay connected. He wants to. He wants to check in. He wants to hear about your day. He wants to make plans, not leave you wondering when you'll hear from him next. Think about how it feels when someone genuinely wants to talk to you. There's ease, there's flow, there's a back and forth that doesn't feel forced. But when you're the one doing all the initiating, every message starts to feel like a test. You wait for the reply, you hope he sounds engaged, you celebrate the rare times he reaches out first, and little by little, your standards shrink. You begin to see breadcrumbs as a feast. A good morning text feels like a grand gesture. A phone call feels like a miracle. And that's not love, that's starvation. You start to feel like the emotional glue holding everything together. You carry the weight of the communication. You carry the weight of the plans. You even carry the weight of convincing yourself this is normal. But deep down, you know it's not. You know that if you stopped reaching out, days could go by, weeks even, and he wouldn't notice your silence. He'd just accept it. Because you were the one keeping the rhythm. He was just coasting on your effort. The truth is, when someone is serious about you, they won't let the silence stretch. They'll be curious about you. They'll want to be involved in your life. They'll reach out not out of obligation, but because connection with you brings them joy. A man who truly wants to be with you doesn't need reminders or strategies to stay in touch. He doesn't make you question whether you're bothering him. He responds with enthusiasm. He initiates plans because he wants to see you, and when life gets busy, he makes sure you still feel seen and valued. When he's not serious though, he lets you do all the work. And the longer you carry that weight alone, the more you start to question your own worth. You wonder if you're being too much. You convince yourself to settle for less. You tell yourself that showing up is your love language, even if it means he never really shows up for you in return. But love isn't proven by how much you give. It's reflected in how much you're met in the middle. Effort should never be one-sided. If you're the only one initiating, it's not because you care more, it's because he cares less. And that's a hard truth to face, but it's one that frees you. Because once you stop chasing someone who's not matching your energy, you make room for someone who will. You don't need to beg for attention. You don't need to be the only one reaching out. You deserve the kind of love that feels mutual, consistent, and easy. Someone who's serious about you won't need a reason to call. He'll call because hearing your voice is reason enough. He won't leave you waiting. He'll make you feel wanted without you having to ask for it. And the moment you stop chasing, you start choosing. Choosing yourself, choosing better. Because the right person won't let you carry it alone. They'll carry it with you, step for step. You've been seeing each other for weeks, maybe even months. You talk, you laugh, you connect, but only on his terms. You start to notice that everything happens when it's convenient for him. He texts you when he feels like it. He makes plans last minute, expecting you to be available. He disappears for days without explanation, then suddenly reappears acting like nothing happened. And every time you try to express how this behavior makes you feel, he either brushes it off or turns it around on you. That's not love. That's emotional convenience. When someone is serious about you, they make space for you in their life. Not just when it's easy or when they're bored, but consistently, even when it's not convenient. They don't treat you like a backup plan or a way to fill time. They treat you like a priority. But when a man only reaches out when it suits him, when he only wants to talk or hang out on his schedule, what he's really saying is that his needs come first and yours don't factor in. At first, you might not even notice it. You're excited to hear from him. You're happy just to spend time with him, even if it's unplanned or rushed. But over time, the pattern becomes clear. He doesn't consider your schedule. He cancels or reschedules at the last minute. He rarely asks what you want or need from the relationship. He makes decisions unilaterally, assuming you'll just adjust. And if you push back, even gently, he acts like you're overreacting or being dramatic. You're made to feel like expecting consideration is asking for too much. But here's the truth. Consistency is not too much. Wanting someone who shows up for you regularly, thoughtfully, and with care is not needy, it's healthy, it's foundational. Relationships built on real connection require more than just chemistry or attraction. They require effort, sacrifice, and emotional presence. And if you're constantly adjusting yourself to fit into someone else's inconsistent rhythm, you're not in a relationship, you're in a cycle of being used. People who aren't serious will always prioritize convenience over commitment. They want the connection without the responsibility. They want the closeness without the effort. They want your time, your affection, your attention, but only when it suits them. They won't think twice about how their inconsistency affects you, because in their mind, this isn't something they're building with you, it's something they're benefiting from. And you start to feel it. You feel the emotional imbalance. You feel the sting every time you adjust your plans for him, knowing he wouldn't do the same. You feel the disappointment when he reaches out late at night, not because he misses you deeply, but because he's lonely or bored. And still, part of you holds on, hoping that one day he'll realize what he has and start to treat you the way you deserve. But that hope can turn into a trap. Because every small sign of effort, every text, every miss you, every brief moment of connection feels like progress. It feels like maybe he's starting to take things seriously. But those moments are scattered, inconsistent, and unpredictable. You can't build something real on crumbs of attention. You can't feel secure in a relationship that only shows up when it's convenient. The person who is right for you won't need to be reminded to show up. They won't need to be chased or managed or begged for consistency. They'll bring it on their own. They'll want to consider your needs. They'll want to make time for you, not because they have to, but because you matter to them. You deserve more than being someone's convenient option. You deserve to be someone's choice. A person who is serious about you won't treat you like an afterthought. They'll treat you like a priority. They won't disappear when things get busy or hard. They'll come in it. They'll consider your feelings. They'll be intentional. And if the person you're with can't do that, you owe it to yourself to walk away. Not because you're giving up, but because you're choosing something better. You're choosing peace. You're choosing clarity. You're choosing to stop making space in your life for someone who only steps in when it benefits them. Because love, real love, is not built on convenience. It's built on effort. And you deserve someone who shows up, not just when it's easy, but especially when it matters.